Hello guys, what's up? Today's my topic will be why China is ahead of India in terms of technology. Without wasting your time, let's begin. The first main reason is education. If you had compared India and China in the late 1980s, there would not have been much difference in their science and technology capabilities. In the early 1990s, China had started moving ahead, but the two countries were not too far apart in their preparation for the 21st century industries. But in the 1990s, China invested heavily in education and research and started moving ahead quickly. It has continued this trust ever since. Now the two are poles apart in science and technology. Infrastructure. China is nipping at the heels of the US, the world leader in science and technology. It has already caught up in the quantity, though it is still somewhere behind in quality. According to one data, China spent nearly 7.57% of GDP on education, whereas India spent only 4.6% of the GDP on education. There has been lots of difference between the investment made by the China and India. Now comparing trade performance of China and India. Since the China and India are the world's most populous countries and jointly made up nearly 2/5 of the world's population, 37% it is according to the data in 2006. India and China have achieved remarkable growth in recent decades, sustained by rapid trade expansion. There are, however, evident disparities between the two has not only expanded rapidly, but undertaken considerable restructuring and upgrading. Since the China began its trade earlier than did India and has become much more integrated into the global economy. Now let's see the export of goods and services as a percentage of GDP of both the countries, India and China. According to the data of World Bank provided data for China from 1960 to 2018, the average value of China during that period was 14.22% of the GDP, with a minimum of 2.49% in 1970s and a maximum of 36.04% of GDP in 2006. Whereas the average value of India is 10.62% of our GDP, with a minimum of 3.31% in 1965 and a maximum of 25.43% in 2000. Now let's consider R&D investment. You all will be thinking, what is R&D? R&D investment is the research and development investment made by the government. Overall, tapping into the global knowledge has been much more important in improving the productivity and growth of this economy that has done in the R&D effort. However, both the countries have critical mass in R&D and are increasing the amount of research and development they are undertaking. And China invests 2.107% of the GDP on research and development in 2016, whereas India invests only 0.85% of GDP on research and development in 2015. India, for 20 years, R&D spending as a share of GDP oscillated between 0.8 and 0.9, and more than 70% of the funding comes from the government. However, in the past 2 years, there has been increasing spending by the private sector, particularly in information and communication technology. A recent development in both China and India has been increasing R&D by the multinational companies MNCs, which now operate more than 750 R&D labs in China, more than the 250. When comparing R&D center of Japanese firms by country, China is the second to the US, and the number of R&D center there is increasing. The importance of China as a center for R&D is not limited to the Japanese firms. Western firms are also investing there. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Nation Development Survey, China is the most important country for R&D among companies in advanced nation. Companies like IBM, Microsoft, Motorola, Nokia, Sony, Hitachi, NEC, Samsung and other leading high-tech companies have created research centers in China, from where global R&D is conducted. Whereas, according to the survey, India ranked just behind the China and the United States as a top of R&D center for multinational. When comparing India and China, many companies are attracted to China market due to the cheap labor, while India's strength lies in the high quality R&D resources. In particular, India boasts the world's largest offshore center for software, and many multinational firms established IT-related development office. Let's talk about the GDP. In 2018, India's GDP was $2.72 trillion, whereas China's GDP was $14.2 trillion. According to one report in 2018, India's current GDP growth rate has overtaken China, while India is set to grow at an estimated of 7.5% in 2018. The estimated figure of China is only 6.5% in 2018. And this is the GDP growth rate of China and India. Thank you guys for watching my video.